The three dwarfs scrambled out of a hole in the side of the river bank and clambered up into the meadow, 1, 2, 3. They climbed to the top of a granite outcrop, stretched, kicked, jumped, and stretched themselves once more. Then they sprinted north, towards the cluster of low buildings that made the village of Give, and in particular to the village inn. The innkeeper was their friend. They had bought him a bottle of Canceller wine, deep red, sweet and rich, and nothing like the sharp pale wines of those parts, as they always did. He would feed them and send them on their way and advise them. The innkeeper, chest as huge as his barrels, beard as bushy and as orange as a fox's brush, was in the tap-room. It was early in the morning, and on the dwarf's previous visits, at that time of day, the room had been empty, but now there must have been 30 people in that place, and not one of them looked happy. The dwarfs, who had expected to sidle into an empty tap-room, found all eyes upon them. "Good Master Foxon," said the tallest dwarf to the innkeeper. "Lads," said the innkeeper, who thought that the dwarfs were boys, for all that they were 4, perhaps 5 times his age, "I know you travel the mountain passes. We need to get out of here." "What's happening?" said the smallest of the dwarfs. "Sleep," said the sort by the window. "Plague," said a finely dressed woman. "Doom!" exclaimed the tinker, his saucepans rattling as he spoke. "Doom is coming!" "We travel to the capital," said the tallest dwarf, who was no bigger than a child. "Is there plague in the capital?" "It is not plague," said the sort by the window, whose beard was long and grey, and stained yellow with beer and wine. "It is sleep, I tell you." "How can sleep be a plague?" asked the smallest dwarf, who was beardless. "A witch," said the sort. "A bad fairy," corrected a fat-faced man. "She was an enchantress, as I heard it," interposed the pot girl. "Whatever she was," said the sort, "she was not invited to a birthing celebration." "That's all tosh," said the tinker. "She would have cursed the princess whether she'd been invited to the naming-day party or not. She was one of those forest witches, driven to the margins 1,000 years ago, and a bad lot. She cursed the babe at birth, such that when the girl was 18 she would prick her finger and sleep forever." The fat-faced man wiped his forehead. He was sweating, although it was not warm. "As I heard it, she was going to die, but another fairy, a good one this time, commuted her magical death sentence to one of sleep. Magical sleep," he added. "So," said the sort, "she pricked her finger on something or other, and she fell asleep, and the other people in the castle, the lord and the lady, the butcher, baker, milkmaid, lady-in-waiting, all of them slept, as she slept. None of them has aged a day since they closed their eyes." "There were roses," said the pot girl, "roses that grew up round the castle, and the forest grew thicker until it became impassable. This was, what, 100 years ago?" "60, perhaps 80, said a woman, who had not spoken until now. "I know, because my Aunt Letitia remembered it happening when she was a girl, and she was no more than 70 when she died of the bloody flux, and that was only 5 years ago, come summer's end." "And brave men," continued the pot girl, "aye, and brave women too, they say, have attempted to travel to the forest of Care, to the castle at its heart, to wake the princess, and, in waking her, to wake all the sleepers. But each and every one of those heroes ended their lives lost in the forest, murdered by bandits, or impaled upon the thorns of the rose bushes that encircle the castle." "Wake her how?" asked the middle-sized dwarf, hand still clutching his rock, for he thought in essentials. "The usual method," said the pot girl, and she blushed. Or so the tales have it. "Right," said the tallest dwarf. "So, bowl of cold water poured on the face, and a cry of 'wakey, wakey'?" "A kiss," said the Sword. "But nobody has ever got that close. They've been trying for 60 years or more. They say the witch." "Fairy," said the fat man. "Enchantress," corrected the pot girl. "Whatever she is," said the Sword, "she's still there. That's what they say. If you get that close, if you make it through the roses, she'll be waiting for you. She's old as the hills, evil as a snake, all malevolence and magic and death."